At the end of that last video, I meant City of Wishes, not City of Veils. City of Veils comes later, and I didn't really like that book either. So the next book is called Southern Republic, and it is like Black God's Drums, a revisionist history for the Civil War. So that's pretty fun. I like revisionist history fiction because it's a whole lot of fun to imagine like how the world would be different if like one thing went different. Um, Southern Republic is the first book of the Downriver trilogy by Lex Ramsey, and it's the South winning the Civil War, and it is 1892 now. The North evolved into a technical center, and the South is protectorate territories that refuse to use modern tech or let their slaves use it. The system is obsolete. People still work to free the slaves. There's like a second underground railroad because the first one was found out and like they got rid of it. So our main character is a part of that system. Our main character is also black. I'll be honest, I wasn't like super paying attention in this book because I kind of checked out after a while. Because it felt like there was just a lot going on and a lot happening, and it was very annoying. Um, so a guy named Patrick is gonna die, but he's left something called the Assembly, a failsafe. I don't know what the Assembly is. I don't remember. And then we meet some people, and they tell us about the different perspectives about the war. There's an old man. His name is Mason, and he's telling children about the Civil War and how the Southern Republic chased away the North in 1983, and the South won at Gettysburg. And he says how the children are too young, or he doesn't say it, but he thinks it, how the children are too young to learn about like the actual cruelty of slavery, nor the stories white people don't know. The first families of the Confederacies are the only ones allowed in the school. They are from the aristocratic families, and they can vote, own property, and be professionals. And just a whole lot of lost cause nonsense, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Um, no slaves can use technology, and this is a problem, especially since new technology for agriculture has emerged. I asked one of my teachers one time if technology like for agriculture evolved in like other countries, or like let's say like in this book the South didn't take over the North, the South just won and the two of them remain separate countries, and like the North uses the agricultural technology because they don't have slaves anymore, wouldn't the Confederacy find slavery to be obsolete? And he said, if you have slaves, would you think of that technology? And I'm like, yeah, but the other, like Great Britain does not have slaves by this point anymore. So, and this book is my answer to that question because apparently, the Confederate government's solution to this problem is to shut up all of the first Confederate families, all the first families of the Confederacy, and to genocide all of the slaves. That's the solution to this problem, apparently. I don't understand how it's the solution to this problem, but it is. So, okay. Um, there's logic police in the North. I don't really know where that came from. Um, the protectorate, like a protect. It made it sound like the protectorate was like several people instead of like one government entity, and they were overlooking a certain area of plantations. Mason is an old slave who would like to see freedom before death. He doesn't. Chloe is a First Families of the Confederacy teacher. Patrick is a Northerner who helps the Railroad Association, and Olivia is a hypocrite protectorate horse breeder, not house, horse breeder. But also hates the Southern Republic hypocrisy, and she sleeps with slaves by choice, for her at least. And she has a kid with one of them, but he's a preemie and he passes. So the timing lines up for her husband, and he looks like he's white. Sulla is a house slave who feels loved by her master because he breaks rules for her. And Sulla lives with Olivia's father, and Olivia hates Sulla. Um, the house slaves, in order to prevent any formed attachment, they move every 10 years. Clearly, 10 years is too long. the government knows slave labor isn't paying for itself, and they don't like the first families, and a senator wants to put them down and have no more slaves and become an industrial powerhouse. Part of me wonders how that would go over with the North, but whatever. And Lewis is a railroad association member who has contacted Patrick, and Lincoln still has his memorial. The North kind of got the better deal at the end of this. Patrick wants to prevent the genociding of all the slaves, and Olivia's going to help him. And the South has two calendars, one from Jubilee Day, which is 119 years, and the Christian calendar, so 1982. They get a lot of slaves to escape by the end of the story. I wasn't paying very much attention because this book is a lot of politics. I really don't know what I was expecting. It was free, so bada bing, bada boom, killing all around. And then Patrick gets killed because they figure out that he is part of the problem, so they kill him. One of the things that I do like about this book is that when you're writing alternative histories, it's best not to get too bogged down in all the details because then of like what other countries are doing, because then it just gets lost and convoluted and confused. I do think that there are too many characters, at least in my opinion. Like, I've read Game of Thrones, and there are characters in that book that I will just completely skip over because I don't care. I really, really don't. Number three was that point that I said about my teacher when I asked him that question and he didn't actually provide me with an answer. He could have just said interesting and moved on, but instead he said that nonsense. I don't know. Number 4, I like the inclusion of Sulla, if only for Stockholm Syndrome vibes, because every time someone says that what was her name? Sally Hemings. Every time that someone says Sally Hemings had a choice when she was with Benjamin Franklin, I'd really like to punch them. Slaves, by virtue of being slaves, don't have a choice. Anyway, I'm gonna do this differently. Hang on. Yeah, because I've noticed that the braids that I do up here never stay, but these two braids and these braids always stay. So I'm gonna go over here. The world building through the classroom and through the slave telling the younger children, that was cool. I've also decided that I can't really hate myself for not finishing books because, I mean, if I don't want to read it, then I don't want to fucking read it. So I'm not gonna read it. Like, I have no interest in the journey. It's a cool concept though. But it's not as interesting as Black God's Drums, I guess, because for me, Black God's Drums has more magic. I'm like slowly realizing like what genres I like. It's been a long time since I've read this many books like this quickly. So yeah. I guess I would like a book with this background, with a former slave who escaped with the Railroad Association and is working to save his family. But good for him for not mentioning the rest of the country and how, like, the West would have developed and all that nonsense, because that probably would have started a whole nother war. This book goes above Warlock Senator because it's not quite as messy as Warlock Senator was. I just got bored. I'm going to keep doing videos until all of my hair is braided, so let's see how many videos this ends up being.